Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kingdom Hearts 2. Man. Geez, wow. Yeah, this game, I've always been very conflicted about the Kingdom Hearts series because I've never enjoyed the Disney parts of the Kingdom Hearts games, but the other parts I've really thought really interesting. When it's just Sora and Roxas and, Organization 13 and the ending and the beginning of the game, those are all like my favorite parts. But going through all these Disney stories, I've never ever enjoyed that. It's just a poorer way of telling an already well told story with worse voice acting, and I'll admit it's incredibly unironically funny at sometimes. My favorite part is when you're fighting, what is it, Hades, I think, in this game, and he does this little gay dance. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I burst out laughing. So again, this game is like unintentionally very funny sometimes, which is its saving grace. But again, like when people talk about Kingdom Hearts, they're not talking about the Beauty and the Beast level or the Mulan level or the Lion King level, or actually I kind of like the Jack Skellington level. I thought it was actually pretty cool. They're usually talking about the other characters that are the originals for this series. And so, again, like, Disney Kingdom Hearts Autism is its own brand. And so this is where I think it really solidified. And you could tell that the people who played this game had their brain chemistry permanently altered by the ideas in it. And so, characters like Roxas, Axel, Organization 13, and all that other stuff now becomes just part of, again, the landscape of gaming culture. And so what's really interesting about this game is the way it starts is you start out as a completely different character. And it's this really, again, a really interesting scenario where you're in this world. And so again, you have this really interesting situation where you start the game as Roxas and you have the memories and the dreams of Kingdom Hearts 1, but you don't know why or who you are. And it turns out that you're actually Sora's nobody. And this is where things got incredibly fascinating and incredibly stupid, where it's like, okay, so when Sora became a Heartless, temporarily a shadow in the Kingdom Hearts 1, and he defeated himself, in that aspect of losing his self or whatever, a new being was also formed called Nobodies, who are spin-offs from characters who... And Nobodies are spin-off of characters who essentially went into a Heartless mode. And so a Nobody is made as a byproduct of that psychological process, which is just a fascinating thing. And so now you have an alter ego that isn't necessarily evil, but just doesn't have any strong emotions whatsoever. And so Roxas lives in this alternate kind of universe in Twilight Town, and he basically has his own relationships, his own life, but he knows that something is amiss. And very much like the intro to Kingdom Hearts 1, you have this very interesting, mysterious setup where you're on this island or you're in this town and you have these relationships and everything seems fine, but at the same time you realize something is not real, something is awry, and this reality that you've grown accustomed to isn't actually a real reality, and there's something about it. And the more that Roxas digs deep into it, the more he finds out about the truth about his identity, how he is not actually a real person, and he kind of just accepts that. And then Sora appears and he goes inside this pod, and essentially Sora, appears from this pod, and then the game kind of technically really starts. And this is where, the beginning of the end in terms of basic storylines begins. This is when you just get absolutely off the wall, insane, official stories where, they were trying to recode and put Sora's memories all back together, which is why he was in that pod hibernating. And they made a digital version of Sora, and then there's a new version of the game, and it's just a friggin' excuse to re-release Kingdom Hearts 1 but on DS and call it Recoded or something. I honestly get them all confused because there's so many different versions and remasters and remakes of this game that are on that are not called remakes. They're called like, 8.5/2 days divided by the power of sigma. I cannot keep track of all of them, and like it's the minute details in the characters' arcs and stories that really gets me, because everything else, like 90% of the game, is pretty basically unchanged, and it's just these small aspects that are changed, and that's like enough for some people to dive all in on this. And again, they're very incredibly convoluted, crazy things like his memories were recompiled from a digital mainframe, and then this is what became of his digital self and his digital shadow and his digital nobody, and stuff like this. I thought I just needed to play Kingdom Hearts 2 in order to play Kingdom Hearts 3, but no, you literally need to have played all of these games. Anyway, doesn't matter. But this gives you a good setup for understanding, again, the Kingdom Hearts lore and how it really stands today. This idea of the Heartless, the Nobodies, and sort of their relationships together. And the Nobodies do end up becoming, these enemies in the game. And also, so Organization 13 is made up of a bunch of Nobodies, essentially, that band together to, essentially take. Again, the combat in Kingdom Hearts 2 flows a lot better. It feels, a lot better. They also were very smart to get rid of the really bad level designs in the previous games. For example, the aerial, level is completely scrapped. I think the Tarzan level was like changed a lot or differently. I'm not sure, but the aerial level is kind of weird because now it still exists, but when you go there, it's just a rhythm mini game, which is just kind of bizarre, and it is one of the most embarrassing things for someone else to watch you play, because they can't use any of the actual music from the movie, so they made up their own original track, and it's quite the zinger, let me tell you. But yeah, at least this Kingdom Hearts does feel a little bit better to play. Still, it feels, kind of okay-ish. And now you have different universes that you get to go to that you didn't have in Kingdom Hearts 1. So some big ones are, like I was saying, Mulan, The Lion King, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Oh yeah, and Pirates of the Caribbean? Oh, I forgot that was a thing, yeah. I thought it was really funny that when you did go to the Lion King level, Sora, what I do appreciate about this game is they theme everything, so even like the main menu changes when you go to a different world. You usually get a different Keyblade that is styled after that world, which usually looks really cool. But and Sora also gets a different costume every time he goes to her world. And so honestly, my favorite one when he goes to the Nightmare Before Christmas, because he has this little like pumpkin mask and whatever. I really wanted that to be one of his alt costumes in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but instead they went for like a Disney black and white theme, which was kind of like, that's too bad. But I love that skin. But when you go to the Lion King level, he literally becomes a furry. He becomes a lion Sora, and I was like, oh boy. Speaking of extra things in this game, there's also, there is a really cool Kino moment. And again, everything that's not Disney related in this game is honestly really cool. Where at the end of the game, you have this giant, not exactly Keyblade lore, because that comes later, but you have this giant showdown where Sora and Donald and Goofy are surrounded by an army of Heartless, and you get this really cool sequence where you press triangle essentially to go into this giant like warp motion where you take out like dozens of Heartless in like one swing, and it's just a really big epic battle, and it actually feels really, really cool and rewarding. There's also an optional boss in this game. You finally get to fight Sephiroth, and Sora fighting Sephiroth is the most ridiculous thing I've seen, but I think it's really cool that they put it in the game. And yeah, it was a really, really hard boss fight, but again, really, really cool that they added that. God, and I just remember Chip and Dale are the engineers for like the Gummy Ship, and just anyone watching you play this game while those cutscenes play is just the most embarrassing thing you can ever imagine. I was embarrassed just watching it. I was by myself. This game, oh my god. Something else I really appreciate about this game are the Keyblade battles, the way it shows, Roxas and Sora and the other members of Organization 13. Again, those are the coolest kind of moments of this game. Those kinds of battles are really cool. When you're in the giant city, that's a really neat place. Also, the ending to this game, again, the ending to these games are really cool and really interesting. And oh my god, I forgot, there was a Tron level in this game. That was so cool. There's some legitimately, there's a lot of things that are just much better about Kingdom Hearts 2 over 1, just in terms of level design, combat, everything. I really like the Jack Skellington level. I don't know, I really feel it really fits Sora to be a more kind of like emo Disney kind of vibe. I don't know how to exactly to explain it, but I just felt it suited the game a lot more. Again, another thing I absolutely adore are the opening cinematics to this game. They are just the coolest thing ever. I absolutely love the opening intros and the graphics and the aesthetic and the music videos. They have so much soul and so much magic to them that they just breathe the essence of Kingdom Hearts, and then they just disappear for like the rest of the game. But again, I love them. The whole thing where Sora's diving into the ocean and then he sees himself and all that kind of reflection stuff. I love that. That is so atmospheric and Kino. It's so good. But again, I love the main theme of this game, especially with the nobodies. So essentially they're trying to return everything to nothing. They're essentially the version of, existentialist forces and nihilism in this universe. And so Sora is the embodiment of hope and basically overcoming anything. In the first game, he turns into a Heartless and he's able to confront himself. And it's only through Kairi's love for him that really saves him. And it's this beautiful moment where he realizes who he is and his power, and despite everything he rejuvenates that hope and revives it. It's a really moving game, and again it's very rare when those moments happen and everything else is like demented in between, but they're so good. And so I think it's a really cool thing that, again, the nobodies are the perfect embodification where they want to destroy everything, return it to nothing. And Organization 13 is really this, these lost souls, essentially. And so it's this really cool thing where they're trying to, they're literally nothing. And so how do you humanize something that's actually nothing, that doesn't have a soul, that doesn't have an identity? And it's a really hard question to answer. And but overall, again, I just love what they've done with this series. And of course, if you haven't figured it out by now, it was Zenmus or Xehanort or whatever the heck his name was in the first game when he became a Heartless. This is his nobody, and then the series just goes off the deep end and like past all jumping of sharks, where essentially like. There's Zenmus, and then there's his nobody, and then his nobody from like the ancient past, and then there's like like the different days ones. And so all the games that came out after this were like all required reading for required playing for Kingdom Hearts 3, and for me, I could not do it. I could not fathom that they actually wanted me to read and learn all of this stuff about the ancient Keyblade War, about Ventus, which is now like Sora's ancient ancestor version along with his nobody. And there's this whole thing where the current timeline now is, and I've watched videos on it, and I do not care to know it, but it's essentially something along the lines that the nobody of Zenmus is now like combined with another entity or part of his ego or his self with his Heartless, and they've combined and then done time travel and like recoded the energy and memories and data from the past games and used that to try to access Kingdom Hearts and take it over. And it's just absolute like a vomit fest of different conflicting narratives and whatever. And I do not care, because I'm not going to play all those games that are just remakes of this game. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts is a very mixed bag, and even starting Kingdom Hearts 3, I was like, I'm kind of lost, and that's fine. That's how you should feel. And I never beat Kingdom Hearts 3. I love the Toy Story level. I laughed my ass off so freaking hard, especially when Woody went badass and called like one of the organization members like a big loser with like no one's ever loved you. It's just like, damn. Damn, Woody. I might go back and play Kingdom Hearts 3 because it's so absolutely ridiculous, but it's pleasure and pain, and sometimes more pain than pleasure at the same time. Oh god, I remember there's another thing I really also hate about this game is that the Beauty and the Beast level makes a return, and it's like, I already solved your problems in the last game, and they kind of had to have their memories wiped or something, and just something stupid like that. It's just like, oh, are you serious? Are you actually serious right now? Really frustrating, but whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this game. Unnecessarily complicated, extremely poetic and well written and interesting in like 5% of its gameplay, and the rest of it is absolute weird dumpster fire that I don't care to play and takes up most of your time, but I guess it's kind of worth it. Anyway guys, that's it. I'll see you later. Bye.